Good afternoon, guys. It's Working, bringing you a very quick update on Bitcoin. I just put one out, guys, about 2 hours ago. And since literally about an hour after I put it out, price did end up breaking down decisively. In the last update, guys, I did warn you, price was sitting right up here, right at this trend line, this ascending support line of this larger, that we were creating this series of higher lows. I told you guys we were pointing out this series of higher lows via this trend line here that was holding. I told you if this trend line does break, which we were testing at the time of the last update, told you if that did end up breaking down, guys, very likely we were going to come down to 61.15, had to hold. I said if that broke down, guys, we were very likely coming back down to test new 2018 lows. And literally an hour after that happened, guys, price did end up breaking down and ended up breaking down decisively, falling almost, or actually falling as low as about 55.40 on Coinbase anyway. And so now the question is where to go from here. I told you guys in my last update, the place that I'm going to be stacking in most of the buy orders is going to be right here. If we looked at this larger picture, this is on the weekly chart, guys. We pointed out this ascending triangle, guys. I told you guys that this ascending triangle typically breaks bear, even though we had that larger ascending support line on log scale that we've talked about many, many times. This still is maintaining the integrity of that larger log scale ascending support line, as we've discussed many times. In fact, if I go over here and I look at that log scale line, let me pull it up here. Let me throw it on log scale. We can see that we're testing it right now. Price just broke into it. Now I can accept a little wick here, but right now we are testing just the bottom. And I literally just said in my last update that bottom sat at about 5,500, right thereabouts. That's exactly where we are right now. So this does need to hold. If this trend line does end up breaking down decisively, not by a wick, but if it breaks down decisively, in other words, if we have a weekly candle that closes in below this trend line here, that's going to be obviously a very bearish sign, guide, and could indicate possibly dropping as low as 4,500, 4,000, even $3,000 Bitcoin. We're nowhere near there yet, guys. For now, we're keeping an eye on we're keeping an eye on this zone here. I told you guys last time that the this very large demand zone was created back in here at the end of 2017. I told you that this is again looking at the weekly chart. We saw price came up, wicked into it, wicked into it, wicked into it, and then just took off. So these wicks, all these wicks right here, and then just taking off here, suggest there were a lot of buy orders sitting down in here. Now price just broke down, found support right here in this area, which confirms our theory that there was a lot of there was some buy orders sitting here. That being said, we have not had that major strong bounce that I wanted to see in this zone. Doesn't mean we can't have it, guys. As I said, we've dropped down to about 55.77. The bottom of this zone sits at about 54.50, somewhere thereabouts, right around 54.50. So we could still get that nice solid bounce out of there yet, guys. We just entered into this zone, so we're going to be watching it and waiting to see. But things are getting very interesting, guys. And regardless, this is significant. Yes, we did have a breakout of this zone. I told you guys that if we did break down, this could be a bear trap. In other words, people dropping or market makers trying to, this is clearly a lot of manipulation, guys. I mean, price dropped literally inside of an hour. I think it dropped about $600, just over an hour, dropped about $600. So that's clear manipulation. Price did break down. This would be the area if this is a bear trap. By bear trap, I mean if this is market makers wanted to trap people into short positions, bait them into short positions just to turn their thing right back around. This is the area right here between 57.75 and 54.50 that we would expect that turnaround to happen. So we're watching this zone now, waiting to see if we can get a very decisive bounce here very, very soon. We'll have to wait and see if that does end up playing out. But the good news is, and this is good news overall, guys, even if this zone does break down, even if we break below 5,500, as I have on here, guys, even if this zone does end up breaking down and we go down to a $4,000 or $5,000 Bitcoin, somewhere thereabouts, that is good news. Why is that good news? That's good news because, guys, remember, we've been watching this large bearish trend take place all year long, and finally we've broken it. Now, yes, we created a lower low, which created, we've been getting a series of higher lows, or excuse me, lower highs and higher lows. We've been watching that for very long, and finally that trend has been broken. So this is going to give us some closure. And even if price does come down to a lower price, guys, that may be what it takes for institutional money to enter back into this market, guys. And only, there's got to be some kind of catalyst for that to happen, either ETF approval or some kind of major bullish news, as I just said in my last update, or price dropping down far enough to incentivize people into coming in. Either way, I do think, as I said, this time next year, I said in my last update, this time next year, we're going to be at all-time highs for Bitcoin, and it may just require this bearish drop in order to bring new money into the market. Coming in and looking at long and short positions, let's start off, let me get here back on the 4-hour chart, and let's start off with shorts. All right, looking at shorts, as you would kind of expect, shorts are on the rise. Shorts are starting to stack. I pointed this out last time. Looks like some people are taking profit. That is a good sign that people are taking profit, guys. That means that price may contain itself into this zone. We want to see that. That's retail investors doing a very wise thing. Price dropped down and they took profit. But if we continue to watch shorts stack like this, that may be a sign that things are going to reverse course. And remember, this is a zero-sum game. So if shorts start to stack, how do market makers make money? They make money by liquidating those shorts. How do they liquidate those shorts? They bring pardon me, they bring price up and hit those stop losses. So we're going to be watching to see if those shorts still continue to stack. Interestingly enough, guys, price just dropped $600, and what a long position is doing, long positions are starting to stack as well. That's extremely interesting. That means that market makers, or excuse me, that means retail investors were looking for a buy, and that does confirm what I said on my last update, that those buy orders were sitting down into this zone down here, guys. That confirms those buy orders are getting filled. We're sitting down into this zone here. So, not only were a lot of stop losses taken out on long positions, which would suggest, long positions should be falling off the board, but either they held their positions or there were so many buy orders when it did drop that negated those stop losses that market makers were hunting for, and now long positions are starting to rise again. And if we look at longs to shorts, longs still are outpacing shorts, which does mean, I hate to say it, that does mean from a pure market maker's perspective that they'd make more money by bringing price back down. So we could see price drop further here in the short term. We'll have to wait and see kind of how this ends up playing out, guys. Not saying that's going to happen. It just means all eyes are going to be watching this market, and it's getting very, very, very interesting. And one thing is for sure, guys, we are breaking a pattern. We're entering into a new pattern. I've been warning about this very heavily for the last month, that we were going to get a larger move. A larger move was coming. We were getting squeezed tighter and tighter, and it was only a matter of time before that larger move happened. I said, by the end of November, very, very likely, no later than the first week of December, and it just happened today. This is good news, guys, in that we are going to get some resolution. We are going to get a pattern out of this one way or another, and once we establish a pattern, then we can start to make some money. Until we establish that pattern, guys, there was just little tight swing trades here and there. It was very hard to make any money. So now that Bitcoin is broken down, we are going to get a new pattern, and whether or not this is a bear trap, we'll have to wait and see. I do think if 5,500 breaks down, guys, there's a very, very good chance if we zoom out here and look at the bigger picture. In fact, let me look at the bigger picture right out here. So it's a little easier. Zooming out here and looking at the bigger picture here on the weekly chart, we can see that there's really not a lot of support between the bottom here, which sits at about 54.50, as I said, all the way down to this area right here. Oh, not there. Right here. Right in here, guys. This is where the support remains if this does break down. So if 5450, call it 5500, breaks down decisively, guys, I think it'll be a very quick drop to about 4600 at least, possibly as low as 4000, 4100. Somewhere in this zone, guys, somewhere right here is where I would expect, if this does break down, if 5450 is broken down, I would expect price to drop down to at least 4600, somewhere into this zone. And this area here, guys, is where I would expect there to be a bottom. I don't think it's going to go down to 3,000. I think if price does end up coming down in here, guys, this is, I would probably more than likely call this a bottom. Why do I say that? I say because if it does happen, I think a lot of people are going to get scared. There's going to be blood in the streets. Everyone's going to say Bitcoin is done, and that's when institutional money and smart money is going to swoop in, grab those lower prices, and finally start that bull run. And once they start scooping in and people start to see Bitcoin move up about another $1,000, you're going to get retail pile on top of that, and that could snowball finally into that bull run that we're all waiting for. But it might take another drop in order for that to happen. I'm not saying that's going to happen, guys. I'm just saying that might be a possibility, and we're going to have to wait and see kind of how this plays out. So how am I playing this? I told you guys last time to a stacking in your buy orders between 57.50 all the way down to 54.50 is not a bad idea. This is where I told you I would be stacking in my buy orders. This is where I have stacked in some buy orders, but not very many, guys. I'm really most of my buy orders sitting down here between about 4,700 and 4,400. This is where I've got most of my buy orders sitting. Actually, I've got some down to 4,300 as well, but literally laddered in here. Now, I did enter some small position here when price came down here, That did trigger some of my buy orders, but not a whole lot. More the majority of them are sitting down here. Now, I still do have my long-term hold portfolio that I have not sold. So I mean, I do still have about 30% of my portfolio that sits in long-term holds that I haven't sold, as I said, guys. So that this is just in addition to that. So just I always want to be transparent with you guys so you kind of know where I'm coming from. Excuse me for a second. All right, sorry about that, guys. Had to pause the video real quick, get some water. All right, so looking at the daily chart, guys, we can see clearly the RSI is very, very oversold. In fact, if I zoom in here, look at the RSI. This is on Coinbase. The RSI is literally, I believe, this is the yeah, we've never seen it this oversold on Coinbase. The RSI is more oversold than it ever has been on Coinbase. Now, that's not so true on Bitfinex. I think on Bitfinex, it was this oversold back in 2015, but it's been a few years since we've seen the RSI this oversold on the daily, guys. So again, does that mean that does this mean we're going to be going even lower, or does this mean that we're bottoming out? Either one could be true, guys. At this point, as I said, I would deploy a small amount of fiat, but not a lot until we have an established trend. And while this is a major break, this is obviously not a trend. We're going to wait and see how this trend plays out. This could be a bear trap. This could be starting a new trend in a bearish direction. We'll have to wait and see how this plays out, guys. But this certainly is not yet a trend. And we do have a nice little bounce here, as expected. Again, showing that we do have these buy orders, as I told you guys, that we're sitting down in this area. Nice little bounce. It bounced actually from 55.40 all the way up to its current price of about 46.97. So that's a decent little bounce, $150 bounce, somewhere thereabouts, something that we'll take. And actually, I may go. I'm just gonna go ahead and hold my order for now, guys. Wait and see how it plays out. But I would, if you guys did end up buying down here at this point, I would increase your stop loss to at least put yourself into profit, because we know that if this thing does break down, as I said, guys, we could be coming down to much lower prices. So if this did trigger some of your buy orders down in here, I would at least increase your stop loss here, so at least you're in profit. So if it does break down, guys, you have nothing to worry about, in my opinion, or just consider taking profit at this point, because at this point, guys, this is still undetermined as far as which direction this is going to go. Could be a major bounce. We could be coming down to much lower prices. This is manipulation, and when manipulation is going on, guys, if you don't know what you're doing and if you don't know how to play with the big boys, I would just sit on the sidelines and wait for that trend, guys. Remember, do not get greedy. Looking at our moving averages, guys, this is zooming out on the weekly chart. This is being significant. I've been telling you guys for a long time that that the Bollinger Bands here have been getting squeezed on the weekly. The 50, 21, and 8-day EMA have all been getting squeezed, as you can see here, almost right on top of each other. So this was suggesting a major move, and of course, we just had that major move just happen. And one of the things that we've been watching, I told you guys there a while ago, is that we needed to see possibly price come down and tap this bottom Bollinger Band on the weekly chart, and that did just happen, guys. Price just hit this Bollinger Band here, wicked into it, and then bounced right off of it. Now we didn't have a major bounce up, nothing to signify a possible reversal, but we did have that bounce at the bottom of this Bollinger Band. We may coming back down for a second test. We'll have to wait and see. But I know that I've been watching this bottom Bollinger Band as a possible area of reversing course. Possibly coming down, hitting that Bollinger Band, and then impulsing up. We'll have to wait and see if that does happen. But as of right now, guys, we are touching that Bollinger Band, and that is significant. And this does suggest, slowly entering into a position, possibly entering into position now, is not a bad idea. If you do enter that position, though, guys, just remember the big picture. Keep that stop loss very tight. I'd have that stop loss sitting at about 5,400, somewhere thereabouts, knowing that if this does break down, as I said, we're coming back down to at least 45, 4,600, somewhere thereabouts. And as I said, if you have not entered into a position and you're thinking of doing it now, I'm sorry, guys, if you have entered into a position and you're thinking of holding it or getting out, in my opinion, guys, I would at the very least increase your stop loss, like I said, but consider possibly just taking your profit. That was easy money. As I told you guys, that was very easy money. And until a new trend is established, guys, there's no reason to to gamble at all. And right now, it would be a gamble just to hold on to it. So at least increase your stop loss, but consider possibly taking profit off of this right now in case this does come lower. If it goes higher, great, you can take advantage of that trend. But if it does go lower, you're going to regret it. So this is also why, guys, I keep telling you, always have fiat on the side. Everyone that's been telling you up here that the bottom was in, how many people were telling you that the bottom was in up here? And I continue to say, be cautious, be careful. I can see this thing breaking in either direction. The bottom is not necessarily in. And of course, what you're going to hear, guys, you're going to hear everyone that called for the bottom of being in on Bitcoin, they're going to make some excuse as to why that was and why this happened. And everyone that has said that Bitcoin is going down to much lower prices is going to act like they're Nostradamus and they were geniuses. So, literally, this thing could have gone either way. It happened to break bearish, but we're going to wait and see if this is just a bear trap, as I said, guys. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap things there. If you have any comments, questions, suggestions, please let me know in the comment section below. As always, I would appreciate an upvote if you have enjoyed this content. Until next time, guys, please trade safe. Take care of yourselves. Oh, one last thing, guys. To the upside, when are we gonna start to call this thing a bear trap? If this thing does end up coming up, when can we start to get excited again? When do we know that it's bottomed out? In my opinion, guys, we're going to be watching this zone here, watching 5,900 to 6,000. Why that zone? That zone because that has been the support for all of 2018. What was support should act as resistance. If price comes back up to test that and it does act as resistance, we get a strong rejection down, obviously, guys, obviously that's going to be a very bearish sign. If price breaks back up and we just break right through $6,000 like it's nothing, that's going to be a very, very bullish sign that things are turning around, that this was more than likely just a bear trap, and more than likely we're heading up to start that bull run that everybody is waiting for. So I do think that $5,900, $6,000 area is going to be key. All right, guys, so I will really wrap it there. Any comments, questions, suggestions, please let me know in the comment section below, guys. Until next time, take care of yourselves. This is Working, signing out.